Okay, let's get this show on the road. Okay, let's get this show on the road. I'm getting some echoing. I'll just shut that window. Okay, let's get this show on the road. I'm getting some echoing. Right. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'll just shut that window. Okay, let's get this show on the road.
Oh, I know what the problem is. So I know what the problem is.
I'd already put this as a feature video on my channel page, which I had open. Hello, everyone. As Thomas Barden Reese would say, so kids. However, I'll still go for everyone. First of all, apologies. I am using my spare webcam, which of course is lower quality and has a narrower angle. My proper webcam just completely gave up the ghost, so I'm going to just get a new one. Anyway, Rick Horton's there. Hello, Diego Rivera. Aliens did it. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Diego Rivera. And according to Woody Black, Academic Agent is going live, and I'm upstaging him. So, yeah, TBR's fave, yes. I think they've collaborated as well. Sevo71, hello. The British Bigfoot has been freezing his grapes off this past week. I bet, yeah. Well, not today, won't. Steve071, got plenty of dragon juice ready, of course. Woody says here, the captain of another aircraft attempted to contact Flight 370 shortly after 1:30. The captain said he was unable to establish communication and only heard mumbling and static. Yeah, that's something I've heard as well. Also, the weird thing is the number of mobile phones as well. Got any decks up yet, Ben? I didn't bother with all the rigmarole myself. Well, my housemate's a Muslim, but they do celebrate Christmas anyway. And Keith McLaren, hello, Keith, says, I think there were patent holders to some revolutionary communication chip. Yes, there were, 20 of them. We'll come on to that. David, Splendid Isolation, hello, greetings. West Londoner, hello, how are you? Body Technician, greetings. And Yarlan Zay, how do you do? Nice you're here, guys, nice. Who else is here? I'm going to say hello to everyone else who's arrived. We have Tor Engen, hello, and Simon Tucker, the one and only Hugo Rune, Pat Riot, Seth, Aaron Fletcher, Spliffs in the Chin, good on you, mate, good on you. Jack Dorr, hello. Bernie Tucker, how do you do? And Rhiannon Jones, hello Rhiannon, how are you? And less than average, very modest he is. Hi, dude, how you doing, guys? Yeah, I'm going to. We all know you, Hugo. Yeah, we know exactly what you're up to. So, before I forget, I'm going to go through the notice comments. First things, get those out of the way. Thank you for the comments you put on the notice. Bernie Tucker says, good evening, Ben. Keep up the good work, sir. Thank you, Bernie. I'm glad you're here. Steve071 says, plane engines Mandela affected. They were under the wings, not sticking in front of them. I've heard of that, yeah. People actually remember. I mean, I don't know if there's some confusion because on older aircraft models, the underwing jets were actually set further back. On modern planes, they're slightly forward. Now, I don't know why that is. It's something to do with airflow, probably. And InsureTech says, looking forward to this one. Thank you very much. I've had some more comments, actually, on Blogger, which I'm going to reply to. Someone put a rather angry and annoyed kind of and very and scathing reply, basically saying how silly it was to doubt the official story. And I said I would reply to them in this comment section. I did mention they were using a lot of rhetoric. We have Drew Peacock. Hello, Drew Peacock. I must be careful not to say your name too quickly. Drew Peacock has got tinnitus. I'm sorry you got tinnitus. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm sorry you have. But thanks for those comments, guys. Okay, we'll go through the notes. I did write an article on Hapanwo Voice a short time ago called Rethinking MH370, which I'm sure maybe only a handful of you have seen this, but it just goes into a few of the basics. Here we go. That one there, Rethinking the MH370. that'll just goes into the basics. But I will cover the material in that article this evening. FMG Football Mad Gamer, hello, how do you do? And Celtic Cousin, nice to see you. Nice to see you. On a serious note, says Rick, battle academic agent cigar stream with a cigar shaped stream at the same time. A Welsh Ripper, hello, how do you do? Welcome. I'm glad you made it, mate. I'm glad you made it. Well, what I'll do is, if you have any comments for me, I'd love to hear them. But what I'll do is, I've got a little lead off I'm going to read out with some notes, and maybe we can have the discussion afterwards. I'll pop back every so often to see if any new people have arrived and greet them during this lead off and cover anything else. But basically, I'm doing this live stream because of popular request. And a lot of people have asked me to comment on this subject. Because now you may have seen other people have been mentioning this. I think this is why you guys wanted me to comment on this, because you mentioned Ashton Forbes, someone I had not actually heard of before. And I looked him up and I saw Andrew Johnson had done a video about him, alien scientist that interviewed him. And it refers to a Reddit thread that appeared in August. And it dug up a pair of obscure videos that were originally posted on YouTube in 2014. These were dismissed and forgotten at the time, and but these videos apparently show the same thing. Now, I'll try and find some. Of all the things I haven't got bloody copies of these videos anywhere. But I'll be able to find something. I know alien scientist reproducers. Get on with it, says Hugo. John Nolan. Richard D. Hall is fighting a losing battle going to court. Oh, I won't go into tonight, but he's really been treated badly. He really has. They're trying to screw him over. I've done an article about it, actually. It's called The Truth Is No Defense, and it's on Hapanmo Voice. So, yeah, you can check that out. But the hum, yeah, I know about the hum, Rhiannon, yeah. And so some people have got tinnitus. Oh, dear. Anyway, I decided to look this up. This guy, Ashton Forbes, I came across a couple of interviews with him. He's done an interview with Alien Scientist, and indeed he did one with Project Unity. He's quite a young chap who's quite open-minded. He did a very good one with Ross Coulthart. I'll just see if I can find the original videos. Just find the original videos for you, because I think it's important we do look at them. There we go. I should have done this earlier, guys. Sorry, before I came on the show.
Again, at various times where they could have done this.
I was watching this interview. We might have to watch them on his channel. Oh, a video. Here's a link to the video. Here's a link to one of them, anyway. Okay, and there's another one, which is. There's two videos, actually. One of them appears to be a satellite image, and the other appears to be and the other one appears to be. Here we go. 2014 YouTube archive. Here we go. Which one's this? Anyway, while that's loading, I'll carry on. I decided I'd look into this. Now, the guy we're talking about, Ashton Forbes, he describes himself as a citizen journalist, seeker of the truth, organizer of MH370, is something a bit like UAPX, like an independent investigation. And he contests that the disappearing airliner you see in the video. I'm going to show you the video in a minute, but it's quite alarming. And he says that is MH Flight 370. And I didn't believe, when I first came across this, I didn't believe it. I thought it was a hoax, because, I mean, come off it. Let's look at it. I mean, how can anything not be a hoax in this day and age? This has caused a really bad signal to noise ratio problem. So photographic evidence does not carry the same weight that it used to. It's a simple fact. Also, Mick West had made he'd made some posts debunking it, and it looked quite credible. I don't often agree with Mick West, and indeed I don't anymore. I mean, You see, I did an interview. I did a live stream about MH370 last year sometime, and I don't know. Funny enough, I had a bit of Mandela effect too, because I was kind of thought it was more recent, but it actually happened in 2014. So I don't know why this sort of hit the conspiracy sphere just a year or two ago. But I mean, I knew there was a mystery involved. I said that basically the MH370 had gone off course, it lost communication, and that was a mystery to me. But I did accept at the time that the plane had flown away over the Indian Ocean until it ran out of fuel and crashed in the sea. And some of the wreckage did wash up, and we'll talk about some of the small pieces of wreckage that have been found, but most of it probably never will be found, because when it struck the water, it would have disintegrated into very small pieces, and nearly all of those would have sunk into the abyss. It's very deep water there, which means it can't be found. But then I started studying Ashton Forbes' work. We'll have a look at his channel in a minute, because he's quite happy apparently for people to share this information. I'm going to, and I was impressed with it. He very confidently, very coherently dismisses this criticism of the skeptics, and in fact, even the skeptic I'm going to talk about in a minute, Don Burgess, he admits that he's sort of borderline on the whole thing. But yeah, we'll just here's one of the videos. Where is it? I think they're on Ashton's channel, actually. Here we go. Here's one of them.
Order free home broadband today.
Hope you guys are getting on all right in chat. Any more new people turned up? All right. Woody Black. Yeah, we're going to talk about the wreckage that washed up. Apparently, the wreckage that apparently was it. Now, there's no soundtrack on this video, I don't think. But this is one of them. Do you see the other object? There was another object there. This is really alarming. I mean, this is really pretty alarming. You see, there's another object there, and this is apparently one of these is from a satellite. This is the satellite one, I think. The other one is apparently from a drone. This is a Boeing 777 airliner, even if it's not the one. There's three of them now, and they're rotating around the aircraft. It's just flying around it in circles. And the cameraman is moving this camera, so this is obviously a camera on a satellite. You see, there's a mouse there. That mouse apparently is the correct one you get on a. Is the correct one. I'll just go back a bit. The mouse is apparently the correct kind of mouse pointer icon that you'd get on this kind of equipment. So whoever's running this satellite camera is following. Whether this is in real time, I mean, satellites. See what happened there? Do that again. See. I mean, satellite technology is highly classified. Some of the biggest secrets in the whole of any country that has spy satellites. It's highly classified, but this could be done in real time, or maybe he's just reviewing a recording, he or she, the person. This looks like it's like a screen capture recording. That looks very alarming, doesn't it? That is, I think this is just it. That's it. That's that for that video. And the other one is this one. And this is showing basically the same thing, but this apparently
Stop flapping
was
over.
taken from a drone. A drone that was flying in the area at the time. And indeed, there may have been other aircraft in the area too, which I will discuss.
Wrist.
You see, it's following. This is from you can see it's from a different angle. You see the trails. These are apparently smoke. It appears there's some damage to the aircraft, possibly caused by a fire on board, and that's what's running behind the plane. This is a thermal imager. You see, it's apparently both are thermal. But this one's a different kind. But you see, oh god, this is apparently these two videos do match. And they see the trail. They seem to be leaving a trail. These some people say that's actually ahead of the strange spherical or ovoid objects going around them, going around the aircraft. See, oh god, this is just repeating. This is quite a closer view of it. Obviously, I'm claiming fair use on these images, although I know that Ashton is quite happy to share this information. I know that. Anyway, welcome, Michael Snow. How are you? And Rob R. Johnny, how are you doing? Wants to talk about Richard D. Hall. Richard did put up a video lately, and I wrote an article about it. If you want to see that. Now, that's really alarming. What we're looking at there is you see the aircraft flying along from both angles, and then these objects appear. And then they circle around the aircraft. It seems like they're separated by an equal distance as if they're flying in formation. And then there's this flash of light, and the aircraft vanishes, and so everything vanishes. It leaves the trail of smoke in the sky. I mean, you can see the trail of smoke after it. I mean, it chillingly, it appears that the UFOs are kind of taking the aircraft and the people in it, like they possibly did to Fred Valentich, another pilot of a light aircraft who was he disappeared after he encountered a UFO. I mean, I don't have the final answer here, but could this be faked? Yeah, what couldn't be faked these days? But I mean, Ashton is pretty convinced it's not, and he's very coherent. And as I said, he's very confident and coherent that this is not faked. Miss 69 Phuket wants some advice on hospital portering. Okay, one thing at a time, guys. One thing at a time. We're doing MH370 tonight, but I'll cover the hospital portering in a little while. There's several sources you could go to get into. I think some of you might have already seen some of these. MH370, the flight that disappeared. It's on Netflix, and it's on a few other places as well, which I won't mention, but it is available. It has sort of gone. It has proliferated, shall we say? And it's a documentary, 3-part documentary about this event, and it interviews various people, including some of the relatives of the people who've disappeared, who've been lost, however they are lost. And some of the researchers, people like this guy called Jeff Wise and Blaine Gibson. The interviews, it's actually quite sad to watch them. Actually, there's a lady called Intern Othman she's a flight attendant, and her husband was also, and they, she just didn't think much because they always text each other, but then when he didn't text in the morning, she just thought nothing of it. But then she found out that he was on this plane. There's a lady called Denisha Weeks. Her husband was on the plane. There's the guy they called him the Angry Frenchman, Ghislaine Waterloo. Nothing to do with Ghislaine Maxwell. This is a guy. His wife and his 2 young children were on the plane. He's got an older son in university in France, and he had to break the news to him, and it was very sad. But they were on the plane too. There's a guy called Jiang Hui, whose father was on the plane too. What happened was this happened between the 2 air traffic zones of Malaysia and Vietnam. Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah, he's the pilot. Now he's been at the center of a lot of the intrigue over this. His house was raided by the police afterwards, which is understandable. I mean, he's obviously going to be fingers and eyes are obviously going to turn towards him as a result of this. Same for the other pilot, Farik Abdul Hamid. But everything seemed to be normal. The plane took off from Kuala Lumpur at about, I think it was about just after midnight. I've got the details here. The plane took off. It was a Boeing 777-200ER, and it took off at 19 minutes past 1 in the morning. Just 40 minutes into the flight, it took off like about just 20 past, 20 to 1, and then it just here we go. Just getting the details right. I'm trying to work these out. Yeah, 0042 local time. That's Malaysian time, which is roughly just after 6 p.m. which is just after 5 o'clock. So I mean, they disappeared just after 6 our time, and then it was heading for Beijing Capital International Airport, expected to arrive at 06:30 in the morning, and 90 minutes past 1, just 40 minutes after it took off, it was over the Gulf of Thailand, got a long way from land, between Malaysia and Vietnam, and Malaysian air traffic control. It was coming to the edge of the Malaysian air traffic control zone, and was actually waiting to it had to be handed over to the Vietnamese air traffic control zone. And what happened was Malaysian Air ATC said the last message was Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. And Captain Shah did reply, good night, Malaysian 370. That was it. And at that point, he was supposed to say, hello, Ho Chi Minh 120.9. He was supposed to, that was 120.9 is the frequency. Is the code for the radio station he's got to contact. So he had to adjust the radio to the new station. And he was then supposed to say, good evening, Ho Chi Minh, Malaysian 370. And then they'd cross over this new air traffic control zone. But that didn't happen because roughly a minute and a half after that final transmission, the plane just vanished from the flight radar. In other words, switched off its transponder, switched off its satellite communications, everything. It turned out there was a GPS transmitter still on board, and that was still apparently continued to run. Or there was some doubt over that. Well, as soon as this happened, Fuad Sharuji, who was the Malaysian Airlines accident investigator, he got out of bed and went to the airport. He was hoping it might have landed somewhere. Someone spotted an explosion over the Gulf, apparently. There was a sighting from an oil rig. There were some oil slicks, but they were shown to have come from a ship. And then he had to break the news to the relatives. And they assumed at the time it was a catastrophic failure, like there'd been the plane had literally blown up or just crashed, because that's normally how planes disappeared. But it was just gone. They couldn't find any wreckage at the site, although there was a lady called Cindy who works for this group called the Tom Nodders, which is like independent researchers. She reckons she found wreckage in the Gulf of Thailand, but this was never investigated. There's something called Inmarsat, which is a British-made communication satellite, which is how which basically just keeps in touch with aircraft, and it's like a GPS device, so that they know where they are, more or less. But it doesn't provide very accurate location data, and it did apparently keep in contact with MH370 for the next few hours. But all it could tell you is its distance from the satellite. That's all these transmissions said, which means that they basically only know to within like about 5,000 miles in either direction where the plane was. And as I said, Zahari Shah's home was raided. The co-pilot was a guy called First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid. He was cleared. He was newly qualified, just 27. There was no real suspicion put towards him, but Captain Shah was under suspicion. Now he had been flying since 1981. He's 53, a very experienced pilot, one of their top pilots, and people thought he might have actually crashed the plane deliberately, because this actually has happened. But there was none of the signs that he was a victim for this, because there was a guy called Andreas Lubitz. Now, you may have heard of Germanwings 9525. This is an awful case, because this guy was a pilot on a plane who it was just a short haul flight. He was I think from Barcelona to Vienna or something like that, and he deliberately crashed the plane with everyone on it. And he used the anti-hijack bolt on the door to lock out the other pilot. And so then he crashed the plane. Now, this was a guy who had been treated for suicidal tendencies. He'd been declared unfit for work. His doctor recommended that he be grounded, but he wasn't grounded. Now, Zaharia Shah was not. He passed a clean bill of mental health. And a couple of weeks later, the Inmarsat data was not published, but the Malaysian government said, "Oh, the plane had crashed. Sorry, it crashed in the Indian Ocean. We know because of the Inmarsat data." But they didn't, because they said they worked out that it went south into the Indian Ocean. But this was death by mathematics. It was called death by mathematics, and the relatives of the people on the plane wanted to see these 239 people who just vanished. They said these people should not be just declared dead by mathematics, because no wreckage had been found, no bodies had been found. And they said, release the Inmarsat data, and the government said, no, we're not going to release it. So there was a riot at the Malaysian embassy in Beijing. And then, of course, it got weird, because in July, then it was the MH370 that was shot down over Ukraine. There was a massive search and rescue for MH370. Several theories came about. I mean, people were coming up with really amazing things. Like, I wouldn't dismiss them out of hand, because I suppose I am a conspiracy theorist, but I don't believe it was some kind of insurance scam. But some people were saying that, and then the relatives of the people on the plane got harassed. The plane was hit by a meteorite, apparently. North Korea had hijacked the plane. Iran had hijacked it. Russian. I'll come on to the Russian thing in a minute, but the Russians get blamed for everything. One of the people, and aliens had done it. I mean, some people claim that aliens had done it. Now, one of the people, I'll just go to see who's there. One of the people actually featured in the Netflix documentary was Shane. Do you remember Shane from my Twitter voicemail video? He was featured in it. I don't know how he felt about that, whether they asked his permission. I'm just going to go through, see who anyone new has arrived. I won't be answering questions just yet, but I will later on. But first of all, I want to say to people who've arrived, such as who else is here? See how we are living. Hello, and Keith McLaren. How do you do? Oh, I think I did say hello to you. Yeah. See how we are living is here. I know you're discussing this amongst yourself, which is fine. Nocturnal Frequency Radio, and Neil Peel, Paranormal Peep Show. Evening, Neil. I will talk to you tomorrow, because I know we're sort of meeting up tomorrow. And who else is here? Della Farrens. Hey, Della, how you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. 69 Phuket, how do you do? Best Beds, how do you do? Not Porter's Beds, because they're chairs. Hello, how are you? How are you? Well, I hope you're all right. I'll pop back every so often and just say hello to people who've arrived. Yeah, Shane, there's a very brief, it's only like a couple of seconds of Shane saying in his habitual way, this is where it really gets weird. Do you remember when he did that interview with Straightaway, Ty? I did that video about the Twitter voicemail. There's a French journalist got involved, someone called Florence, somebody. Didn't get a surname. She exonerated Zaharia Shah, apparently. I don't see. This is when it does get weird, because and worrying, and I understand how distressing and how I don't know how it feels to lose somebody like this or have someone go missing. I don't know how that feels, but I can sympathise with the relatives of those who went missing, because when the Malaysian government actually released the Inmarsat data, they found out the GPS. The GPS beacon, that is the one that communicates direct with the satellite, was turned off, and then it was turned on again, like it was a broken mobile phone. And it gets even weirder because Ghislain Waterloo was then he had one of these. It's like something from a spy story. He was told to meet someone called Mr. B, and this was in a car park. He basically was in a parked car in a multi-story car park. This Mr. B, who wouldn't identify himself, told him that the Americans knew about it and they had AWACS planes watching. Now, Jeff Wise came to believe that the Russians did it, and this so upset so many people, the independent group expelled him. But he said that because the Inmarsat data just made no sense. And he said it could have been altered on purpose. The plane had enough fuel to reach Kazakhstan, and he asked maybe it went north into Central Asia. It could have reached Kazakhstan. He said there were 3 Russians on board. I mean, he didn't say much about who these Russians were, whether they had any links to the FSB. But he said that they could have hijacked the plane without involving the pilots. And apparently there's a way of doing this, although maybe they fixed it now. But the 777 is a fly-by-wire model, which means that everything runs through a computer in what's called the avionics bay. Now, this is basically down a ladder underneath a hatch in the first class cabin. You just basically pull back if you pull back the carpet, there's like a hatch, and you can open it, climb down, and it's unlocked. And the Russians could have got down there and then taken control of the aircraft. If they knew what they were doing, they would have to know exactly what they were doing to do this, but they'd have to be trained in aircraft computer control. They could have basically taken control of the aircraft. So why did it see? It's very trendy, especially in those days. It was very trendy to just blame Russians for everything. This is when Trump was running for president, but why did they do it? Well, the thing is, 8 days earlier, Russia had invaded Crimea, and wait for it, they wanted a distraction in the news. And so the Russians hijacked this plane and flew it to Kazakhstan to give people something else to watch at in the news. Now, it seems a little elaborate. I've often made this criticism of the people who say that UFOs are just there to distract people. But this is another. I think this is another kind of like bank robber situation. The bank robber who says, "There's no buried money here, everyone. No buried money. There's just unicorn bones. Don't worry about it." I think it's another of those kinds of situations. And Fuad Saruji, the accident investigator, said he claims that the plane cannot be flown from the avionics bay, and the pilots still have the ability to override anything that came from there. But also, but the question is that why was no debris found in the Indian Ocean, despite the world's biggest ever search and rescue mission? And then debris did wash up, apparently, on Reunion Island. It was what's called a flaperon, which apparently is part of the plane's wing. And there was a missing. The thing is, though, people were thought this was a bit odd. Now, it wasn't completely implausible because it had obviously been in the sea for a long time because there were shellfish growing on it. You can see it quite clearly. But every piece of the plane has an ID plate, and this ID plate was not on it. This ID plate, excuse me, had been removed from the flaperon. And this is the same with every other piece of debris they found. They've never managed formally and conclusively to link it to MH370. The only evidence they've come up with is, well, there's no other 777 missing, so it must be MH370, which is kind of a circular argument, really, isn't it? Especially when the ID plate is not on there. I mean, normally when debris is found, it can be identified quickly by the forensic engineers who deal with this sort of thing, because they just look for the ID plates on it. I mean, this has happened before. So the ID plate had been removed, and that's weird because ID plates are only normally removed from aircraft components at the scrapyard. So that was a bit strange. I mean, it seems that on some of the other there was another piece found where there was a serial number, but it didn't match. It didn't match MH370. Yeah, and there was more debris found in Mozambique after that, and it was found by this guy Blaine Gibson. He became rather serendipitous. He was finding it everywhere. He just went and checked the beaches in in Mozambique, country in southeastern Africa, where the currents from Central Indian Ocean inevitably end up. And he kept finding pieces everywhere. And people had said, "Are these planted? Is Blaine Gibson like an FSB agent or something?" And they said there was. See, Captain Zahari had a flight simulator, and he apparently had programmed this particular route into the flight simulator, and he left. And apparently, where the plane flies into the Indian Ocean and crashes, but that's not really evidence, and it was later debunked by Florence, because he may have just gone and had dinner and left it running. I mean, I've played Microsoft Flight Simulator, as you know. I've made videos about it, and I've done that sort of thing. I've just been distracted and gone off, and I come back later, and my plane has crashed. So Zahari, he seems to be quite a normal guy. He had a wife and kids, and his hobby seemed to be making YouTube videos about DIY. I mean, I don't know if his channel's still there, probably not. And also, the investigators waited 3 years before coming up with this idea that he planned it all before in Flight Simulator. This weird. There just doesn't seem to fit. There's also not enough oxygen in the emergency supply to last that long if you really wanted to crash the plane or steal the plane. Why, if he wanted to crash the plane, why didn't he do what Lubitz did and just crash it as soon as he's locked the door? Why give the crew a chance to find a way of getting into the cockpit? So the flight path indicates an emergency event and not suicide. And there was all sorts of claims about Zahari that he was like some kind of political radical. I mean, he did support this guy called Anwar Ibrahim, who's an opposition leader in Malaysia. But so he was politically active, which there was no crime against that. But he didn't leave any kind of manifesto behind. No, he left no messages at all. There were no radar or images from Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore, or Australia. There's RAAF Butterworth, which is an Royal Australian Air Force base in Indonesia, had military exercises going on, so they were very active, and they never spotted anything. Some people claimed that MH370 was shot down by accident, and there was a cover-up to prevent a negligence charge. This has happened before. I mean, but it turns out that the exercises didn't involve any live firing, but they thought something could have happened, and the plane was shot down, and they wanted to cover it up. This happened in the Baghdad airstrike, the thing that Chelsea Manning and Julian Assange were in trouble for, where basically the American helicopter opened fire on a bunch of journalists thinking they were terrorists, and the US Baghdad authority tried to cover it up so they wouldn't get into trouble, because that was an act of gross negligence, but they tried to cover it up. Now, something happened in the 80s. A Korean airliner was shot down in international airspace by Soviet air defenses, and they tried to make out, they came up with all kinds of excuses, like the plane was in the wrong place and things like that. And eventually they just had to admit it. They just had to admit it. We really messed up, and we're sorry we killed all those people. There's lot of thought about how there was apparently in the cargo hold, there was a delivery of lithium-ion batteries. Now, we know that they are a fire risk. We've seen like some of the cars and scooters catching fire. Apparently, they were not X-rayed. That doesn't make sense, because everything's X-rayed when you go on a plane. When I went to Las Vegas, I had to empty my pockets. I was X-rayed. My bag was X-rayed. Everything was X-rayed. In a sinister development, did the American AWACSs use jamming to make the plane go dark, and they maybe shot the plane down when it refused to land, which would fit in with what Cindy of this Tom Nodder group discovered, wreckage in the Gulf of Thailand. I don't know. There was some rivalry within these researchers, but apart from this debris in the Gulf of Thailand, Cindy spotted it via satellite imagery. But the search that was actually done found nothing. Why did all these nations collaborate with the USA? We're talking, I mean, they'd all have to. Australia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, they would all have to go along with this. Yeah, and was Blaine Gibson was accused of being a Russian agent, everything like that. Anyway, guys, anyone new just turned up? Anybody new? Hello, everyone. If you just turned up, thank you very much. We've been going for about 40 minutes. I've got Truth Over Lies. Hello, how are you? E.T., welcome. How do you do? It's great you're here. I'll continue with this little readout, and then I will, and then I'll come back to you, and we'll have a discussion. Now, Ashton Forbes thinks he knows exactly who leaked this. What he says that those videos I showed you, those very worrying and frightening videos of the plane basically being attacked by what looks like UFOs, he puts it down to some kind of technology. I'm not so sure. I'll come on to that. But he talks about someone called Edward C. Lynn. Now, this is a Taiwanese American who was arrested. He was, funnily enough, he was codenamed Agent 370. And no one, and that's a bit weird because, and after MH370 happened, he was reassigned. I think he was in, let's just have a look at him. And let's have a look. Because I do actually have some details about Mr. Lynn. Which now I have actually got these. This is something I did do right with my notes. Yes, this is the gentleman here, Lieutenant Commander Edward C. Lynn. There's various news outlets for this. The Washington Post. Here we go. This guy apparently accused of espionage and patronizing a prostitute. Oh God. Taiwanese-born officer of the U.S. Navy. Yeah. And this is him here. This is a picture of him there. He was accused of spying. This is something he's denied. But Ashton Forbes claims that this guy is actually he was sentenced to 6 years in jail for mishandling classified information and not reporting a foreign contact. Yeah, this is the first case since of espionage since the end of the Cold War. Of this type, espionage of this type. Now, Ashton Forbes considers this man a hero. He believes he's got a lot of circumstantial evidence that suggests that it was Edward C. Lynn who leaked the 2 videos we've seen. There's a lot of strange things associated with him. Firstly, he's been wrongfully treated in custody. Now, this is very irregular. When he was arrested, he was not allowed access to a solicitor, which you're supposed to do. When I was arrested, I mean, immediately I had a solicitor contact me. It's standard procedure. He was not. He was actually denied legal advice. And now we'll come on to the passengers. There's the people who were on board. Some of them obviously were just ordinary people. I think Denisha's husband Philip was normal. What's his name? Denisha Weeks is her name. His name I think was Paul or Philip. Sorry if I've forgotten. But there was others like the cabin crew, the guy Intan's husband, and people like that. I suspect the pilots were also just ordinary people caught up in this. But 2 of the passengers apparently had fake passports. Now, these were Iranians who were actually trying to get to the Netherlands to seek asylum, which is strange because they were going in the wrong direction. But there's some other suspicious elements to the passengers, and I'll come on to. So this is a really, really weird thing. You literally have to go. When was there another case like this? Because planes have gone missing before. I've just been looking up a list of missing aircraft. And of course, aircraft that have crashed. But you've literally got to go all the way back to 1872 for anything that is similar to this. And I'm talking about quite a famous case, actually. This is the Marie Celeste. Now, this is a Canadian-built merchant ship. I was on a transatlantic crossing and was found deserted. She was just found floating adrift in the ocean near the Azores. The ship was in good condition, seaworthy. One of the sails, a couple of sails were still furled. Were still not furled, the other way around. They've been set. No one knows what happened except her lifeboat was missing. The crew apparently got into the lifeboat and abandoned ship. If the lifeboat wasn't there. And the last log entry was dated 10 days earlier. She's on her way to Genoa. She left New York City. And they found plenty of food aboard. Also, the rum and the alcohol, that's the alcohol supply, that has not been raided, so you can't blame it on drunkenness. The crew's personal belongings hadn't been disturbed. No one had packed anything. Nothing was ever found again. Her crew and captain were never seen again, and this mystery has never been solved. But we don't know. But this is the closest I can get to actually, to an instance similar to this that we're talking about this evening, and this is literally, you got to go back to the 1872 for that. And it's a huge mystery about why this happened. There's all kinds, and as with MH370, there was lots and lots of theories. Arthur Conan Doyle got involved in this. I mean, it's the guy who wrote Sherlock Holmes. He was very into spiritualism and stuff. And there's all kinds of theories. You know, sea serpents, water spouts, black holes, and things like that. No doubt in this day and age, they just said aliens as well. Anyway, guys, how are you guys getting on? Vrillon Aura is here. Hello, Vrillon. Nice to see you. Sailors love their rum. They do, don't they? Yeah. They don't get. I know in the Royal Navy they don't get rations anymore. That's been stopped. The rum ration has been stopped. I don't know. There's something else. I don't know if you see. It's called Manifest. It's a TV show which I think may have been inspired by this particular thing. Here we go. Yeah, this is a drama series. It's a supernatural drama series. It premiered in 2018, and it's about a plane that disappears and then reappears 5 years later. There's just some turbulence for a moment, and when they land at their destination, they find that 5.5 years has passed, and they've just been missing. They're presumed dead. All their loved ones are very pleased to see them, of course, but there's a lot of things like some of them have moved on, some of them are married other people, some of their relatives have died, things like that. Really, I've only watched half the first episode, but it looks really interesting. It may well have been inspired by this. This really sad. It's actually we shouldn't forget, this is a very, very sad event. It's very upsetting. Somebody's claiming in the Chinese press that a Mayday call was received. I'll come on to the video. There's a video someone made claiming that the video's fake. Now, there's Ashton Forbes claims that what happened was that this was done not by aliens, but by the secret government. They used their secret technology to do this. And he believes his reasoning for this is he believes that if this was a truly anomalous incident, extraterrestrial, there would not have been a cover-up because it's not necessary. Now, I dispute that. He says that the planes and satellite appear to be focusing on that area already. Now, that is a mysterious phenomenon where a satellite was looking down onto that particular area, and indeed a drone was following that aircraft. That's not normal for a military drone to follow an airliner, to be actually close to an airliner. And indeed, we've already heard from Mr. B that the US AWACS were actually in the area. Now, why is that? Why is that? If this was some kind of government psyop, not psyop, a government secret operation, that's the kind of thing you'd expect. US assets showing up in the area. Unless as we've seen with things like Penturk and Bedouin Mountains, these two Welsh cases, they often seem to, even when there's distinct evidence this is an extraterrestrial event, it's strange how the government does seem to have some kind of advanced warning. As if they know, don't know. Thing is, what's weird is they with Bedouin Mountains and Penturk, they didn't know exactly where the object would appear, but they knew roughly where it was, to within a few hundred square miles. He actually believes it might have. He said the plane might have been doomed; it was on fire, so they decided to use this as an opportunistic time to test the secret technology. As I said, I can't go into all the details here. I can't. There's just too much. But if you go to Ashton Forbes' YouTube channel, which I showed you earlier, yeah, do check them out. There's some people suggesting. I mean, Shane was talking about this. There's a link to the voicemail. That Ty's voicemail. I dispute that. The numbers could mean anything. The numbers, as I said in my Twitter voicemail, I did my cold case Twitter voicemail review a few weeks ago. Some people are claiming that Mick West said this. I think the satellite that he's talking, the satellite which has the ability to capture this image didn't exist at the time and hadn't been launched. Forbes says that's not true. Funnily enough, Ashton is actually offering money. Now, if this was faked and you faked it, or you know who faked it, and you have the source material to prove it, you can win $145,000 US. Just contact him. No one so far has claimed that money. Some people are claiming the Gulf of Thailand search was a different deliberate diversion. Where would the plane fly for an emergency landing if it was in certain areas? There's only limits to where it could go. Once it's too far out at sea, it can't get back. But no, like I say, no debris was found in the Indian Ocean. No emergency. The floats, like the buoys that come off the plane when it hits the water, they automatically release if a plane lands in water, and they transmit a strong radio signal. They were not activated. The sonic signal generator on the black box was not activated. And there were weird cases. This is actually mentioned in the Netflix documentary. They were calling the mobile phones. The relatives were making calls on the mobile phones, and some of them rang. And someone even got an incoming call. One of the Chinese relatives got an incoming call on their phone from someone who was on that plane. This was like hours after the plane had supposedly gone missing, and they tried to pick it up, but it unfortunately stopped ringing. And when they went to the government, they said to the government, "Oh, could you find out anything more about these calls? Could you tell us why we're still able to call our relatives when the phones ring? Because normally they'd go to voicemail, or they'd say call can't be connected and things like that. Phone switched off. And could you explain why I got an incoming call from one of these people on the plane when apparently the plane had crashed?" And you know what the government said? We don't have the technology to do that. Like hell. That's a little bit weird, isn't it? I mean, even mobile phone companies can do that, let alone the government intelligence agencies. Another weird thing, President Obama visited Malaysia just afterwards. I don't know if that's a coincidence. Ashton has been told he shouldn't talk about this because it hurts the families of those who were on the plane. If you they're putting out weird theories like this, it's insulting to the people who've gone missing, and it's heartless, and it's painful for the families. This nonsense has been talked about with 9/11. What about the pain you're causing the relatives? You're just going to keep on no matter what. As I've said before, how is it respectful to people who've gone missing and sensitive to their loved ones to cover up what might have happened to them? By that logic, if I see some old lady being mugged in the street and she dies, do I have to tell the police she had a heart attack? Because by that logic, that's the only way to show respect to her and sensitivity for her loved ones. Now, Diego Garcia is called the Area 51 of the sea. It's an island, or it's actually an archipelago of islands in the Indian Ocean. It's part of the British Indian Ocean Territory, which was actually sold I think it was sold to the Americans in 1967, and this is pretty bad actually, because the native people called Chicobsons, there were over 900 of them living there, and they were literally moved out. They were evicted, even though this is where they lived for generations. And so they were taken to Mauritius or the Seychelles and given new homes and things like that. But and there's been like a big class action lawsuit against the British government and various other people against that sort of thing. I mean, it's there was some people say, well, we had to move them out because there wouldn't have been room for them, which in itself wouldn't be an excuse, but it was a nonsense, because the actual secret base on Diego Garcia only covers like about 10% of the land surface. They didn't want any people hanging around who had, for example, a vested interest in, say, looking at, fighting for their rights as people who live there, or indeed maybe finding out information and spreading it. So yeah, Chagosian, as they're called, they were just moved off. Now this is called the Area 51 of the Sea, and apparently there was a sighting of a plane on the Maldives, which is nearby. There was no departure at Diego Garcia for 72 hours after this event. The flight logs were destroyed in July of 2014. There's also custody capabilities on Diego Garcia. They basically have like prison cells and things. And when you say stop hurting the families have they're already hurt. They've never believed the official story. This is what the riots were all about. All right, guys, how are you getting on in chat? How are you guys? Any new people turned up? Hello, how are you all? David Schultz, greetings. Oh, David, can you make a note of that comment? I'll come back to all your comments and questions in a minute. I'm nearly finished. Right. There's this video called by Dom Burgess called I recreated the MH370 UFO video and found out something amazing. Now this is quite something, because I mean, what he did was he essentially he digs up the thing that Forbes said Mick West got wrong. Oh, this is this video here. Where is it? Here we go. No, not this one. Here we go. I recreate this video here.
Video. One that I made specifically for this video. Though if you happen to...
This chap here,
kind of felt like
I think he's kind of a skeptic.
UK taxpayer money should not be...
But anyway, I put on a comment saying, what can't be fake these days? If I had a real UFO video, would I bother publishing it? Who would believe it? What's interesting about this is, though,
You see, whilst being interviewed... and the aeroplane...
I don't know, this is 12 minutes long. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. But basically, he believes that the explosion... This is the interesting bit here. This explosion, this flash of light, was apparently... Now, Mick West claims that the flash of light you see on these videos were taken from a 1990s, basically, template, a 1990s electronic template. And Mick West reckoned he proved it because they match exactly. Now, Forbes said, oh, they didn't match.
Take their word for it. I had to check it for myself.
Yeah, and it doesn't match completely. But then this guy, Don Burgess, claimed that it may have been distorted slightly, like this. If you distort it slightly, you can make them
But it still wasn't right.
Almost
and then
match.
It struck me. Visual effects is not a strict process. Artists are always stretching and warping images to fit their purposes. What if the hoaxer had just distorted the stock footage during the creative process? So I stretched it just a little bit, and bingo, virtually a perfect fit.
Virtually, not exactly, but
And with the random nature of explosions, I find it incredibly hard to fathom the odds of these two shapes lining up so closely.
The thing is, skeptics like this guy will cry coincidence when something like this happens with us, won't they? They would say, "Well, it's just a coincidence." It's just a coincidence, that like the sycamore up at Hadrian's Wall was cut down exactly 3 years after the killing of the white stag. They say, "Well, that's just a coincidence." So, if you're a skeptic, I've got to ask you, if you're going to use this argument, this coincidence excuse, use it fairly, use it for everything, or don't use it at all. Hello, Richard Kinzer. How do you do? All right. Now I'm just going to come on to, where is this? Right. What's weird about this video by Dom Burgess, he admits that most of what Forbes got is correct. I mean, he kind of almost half agrees with Dom. He seems to be, sorry, with Dom. Dom half agrees with Forbes. He kind of thinks that Ashton he's kind of on the fence really about a lot of what Ashton says. Now this is interesting. Now someone mentioned this at the beginning. Of all the passengers that were on the plane, there were 239 people on board. There was a handful of crew and all the rest were passengers. 20 of the passengers were from an American technology company called Freescale Semiconductors. And this was actually, they were actually on a business trip because they were launching a new electronic warfare gadget for military radar systems. And it is very interesting. So, funnily enough, what these Freescale Semiconductor employees were all traveling together, which is apparently against company policy. They're not supposed to do that because they're very valuable. These are all top engineers, and they don't want them for reasons like this. What if the plane crashes, sort of things. So that is always a lot. There's been a lot of speculation about that. Were they kidnapped by the Russians? Did this cargo in the hold that apparently was not X-rayed for some reason, which just seems weird, was something to do with this company? Did the company know technological secrets? Was it stolen by? Was that why the AWACS were out there? Was the plane jammed? Was the transmissions jammed and it was hijacked by the Americans? Maybe. They were actually on their way to the company's computer chip manufacturer in Tianjin, China. So this company, despite the fact it is an American company, has like connections to China and things like that. So did the Chinese see? If did the Chinese do it? Well, if the Chinese did it, why didn't they just put a spy in the factory in Tianjin in their own country? You know, but the vice president of this company, Mitch Horst, said they were people with a lot of experience and technical background. They were very important to the company, and it's definitely a loss to us. Yeah, this is a company that began operations in 1972. Shareholders include the Carlyle Group, ex-US President George Bush Sr. and John Major, former British Prime Minister, are involved with that. Previous heavyweight clients include the Saudi Bin Laden Group, well, of course, construction firm owned by the family of Osama bin Laden. It's a small club, and we're not in it. Yeah. So that I thought was a bit strange. Okay, so I've been through those notice comments. Now I got this. Someone wrote this comment on my blogger article on Hapanmo Voice about this, and they said this, and I said I would reply to them in their live stream. So if they're actually watching right now, either it's on the recording or live, this is basically what I have to say. I said I always find it annoying. This is what they said. I find it annoying when something that's been debunked and forgotten that resurfaces, so it has to be looked at again, when it was just put on TikTok to go viral and make the poster some ad revenue rather than actual research. All right, so this person is annoyed, and they're using some rhetoric here. They're saying they're annoyed, and the reason it's been resurfaced, well, it's just for ad revenue. So this is a typical skeptic and backslapper argument. That everyone who disagrees with them is just trying to make money. A couple of very obvious flaws about these videos and stills that should show to anyone that it's not MH370 and is in all likelihood faked. Number one, the footage shows the aircraft during the day, supposedly with the footage coming from military surveillance. MH370 was out of range of military surveillance before daylight, having taken off at midnight, and all military radar footage ceased at 2:22 a.m. for that flight once it was out of range. There were several satellite pings hours later, and when it was well out of range, which disproves it was taken as suggested in the video, unless the UFOs decided to turn up just as it was out of fuel and about to ditch in the sea, which doesn't explain the many hours of flying off course beforehand. Well, it wouldn't if that was the case, but firstly, it was actually nighttime. These are infrared images. It looks like daylight, but it's actually infrared. Both of them were like infrared, what the satellite and the drone footage, apparently. the satellite pings, again, this was in Inmarsat, and we know that when the Malaysian government finally released the data, there was a lot of people found that a little bit dodgy, these satellite pings for the Inmarsat. Anyway, he goes on to another point here. 2, the thermal imaging uses a rainbow color, which doesn't match the thermals of a jetliner and its engines and hotspots, so in all likelihood, it is a color layer superimposed on top. Right. Well, it's true. There is like what looks like a hotspot on the underbelly of the aircraft. Now, of course, there's hotspots in the engines, but the hotspot. This is another reason to think there may have been a fire on board, and there was actually smoke coming out the back of the aircraft and the hotspot in the hold may have been that. Maybe it was those lithium-ion batteries. Number 3, the appearing gate and portal that is being suggested was opened by UFOs to take MH370. Appears black on the thermal imaging. Surely this should be a color, or it too has been added later as an additional layer. Right. Well, it's impossible. Again, it's impossible to prove that anything is not faked in this day and age. It really is impossible. But so apparently, Ashton actually explains this in his interviews. That he said that it was actually very cold. It was actually the black also means an absence of infrared heat, which means that it was either very cold or it was actually not radiating much in the infrared spectrum. Number 4. The letters that refer to grid reference 8.834301 and 93.919492 or 8.883401-4301 or 93.19492 change as the camera moves and do not relate to the known MH370 path tracked when it was lost. Right, I haven't actually looked into this. I know that Ashton was pretty convinced that this incident happened in the Nicobar Islands, and I didn't know about this piece of metadata, so I can't really comment on it. I haven't looked into it. Number 5, there is a bird flying around which wouldn't be picked up on a satellite camera as claimed. All right, I didn't see the bird. I mean, are you sure the bird wasn't one of the UFOs? There's instances where what looks like UFOs actually fly past and they go out of frame, and maybe it's them that come back and circle the plane. Number 6. There are claims it came from the NROL-33 military satellite. This is impossible. It was launched after MH370 was lost. All right, well, Ashton has an answer to that. I can't remember his details, but he actually said that the satellite in question actually was actually in the sky at the time. And here we go. The final oddity that suggests it is a fake, and not a very great fake either, is that it is the original upload. Not a great fake at that. Is the original upload was claimed to be on the day of the disappearance. However, the Internet Wayback Machine shows it wasn't uploaded onto YouTube until 2 months after the disappearance of MH370. Well, yeah, I mean, I know that there was one uploaded in July and one uploaded a couple of months earlier. I don't have the actual dates to hand, but anyway, what this guy, as I said, there is whoever actually faked this video could win a lot of money if they want to contact Ashton. But anyway, this is how this person ends. It's an anonymous comment. They didn't leave a name, so I can't address this person by name. But it ends like this: some folks need to stop spreading nonsense so we can actually appreciate real footage and analyze it rather than wanting clickbait that just wastes every UFO researcher's time, in my humble opinion. All right. Well, your opinion doesn't sound very humble, whoever you are. But this last paragraph is just, this last sentence is just rhetoric. And I actually said in my reply to him on Blogger, I actually said to him, I wrote him back to him and I said, "Hi, Anon, I will address all the points you have made in tonight's Panamo TV live stream beginning at 9 p.m. And I provide a link to this video. I can't help but notice the level of emotion and rhetoric in your comment. Phrases like spreading nonsense and annoying are not appropriate when somebody's merely positing some information and are usually used by people unsure of their own argument. Why not just explain how you think it's fake and leave it at that? Are you sure this is just about ad revenue? I find that skeptics and backslappers always portray us, meaning we woo-woos, in a very dark, cynical way, making assumptions of immoral motives." Ooh, yeah. I decided to say that. Anyway, guys, I think is that the end of it? Let's have a look. Yep, that is the end of my notes. So now I will come on to you guys over here and say, "Come back, Ben," says, "I'm back, Steve." Okay. Right. Any questions or comments? Right, Slaxer. He hasn't uploaded for a while. Phuket, I actually did leave a message asking him if he was all right. I'll just check, actually. Just check Slaxer, see what he's doing. What's he up to these days? Good old Slaxy. Here we go. Here we go. This is his channel. Where's his channel? Oh, there's another one called Slacks. Oh, I've just come across another channel. Slaxer Mental Health. Here we go. Right, here we go. It's called Asnada now. Yeah, here, I'll show it to you. He hasn't uploaded for 3 months, and he just uploaded a gaming video. You see, this is last sort of like, oh, it's actually his last video 5 months ago. Summer Storm, 7 a.m. This was his last video, his non-gaming video. If he was all right, let's see if he's. I don't think he's replied because I'd have got a notification. This is 3. When did I? This is a gaming video. Here we go. Hope you're doing all right, mate. I've got a thumbs up from somebody. I just said this. Hope you're doing all right. So I don't know where Slaxer is. Unfortunately, I don't know where he is. Okay. Might go back. Yeah, this I sound like Patrick Moore. Yes, I do. Right. See how we are living. They are sequenced IR photos, 6 frames per second, taken at precisely the same time as the plane was over the Nicobar Islands, as referenced by the coordinates. Right, I haven't looked into the coordinates, but I know that Ashton is pretty convinced that this proves where the planes were. Of course, numbers could mean that they're not necessarily grid coordinates, geographical grid coordinates. They could mean something else, like indeed those on the Twitter voicemail. Do you remember? The one that straight away got sent and scared the shit out of him. See how we live. And the SAT video was uploaded 14th of March 2014, 6 days after the event. These videos are real. Right, thanks, mate. I know one was uploaded a few months later, but the first one was, I believe, uploaded quite soon there. Steve, backside of Uranus in Ben's Moore's voice. Hugo Rune, been a pleasure. Thanks, Ben. You off, Hugo? Are you heading off? But thank you. 69 Phuket. We missed the old Mona. All right. You're talking about Hugo Rune or Slaxer? Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, because of his state of mind, I do worry when he goes quiet. You know, I do. Rihanna says where is it? The video does look like it was taken in daylight, doesn't it? Yes. It's actually filmed from space looking downwards. And what you see below you is the sea, which looks blue. And there's white clouds. But apparently, according to Ashton, it's a type of infrared. Ben, was any footage shot of any mysterious objects close to the plane? Yeah. Diego Rivera, was it the Bermuda Triangle? No, it was in Indochina, the Gulf of Thailand, long way from the Bermuda Triangle, which is around Bermuda, which is on the other side of the world. Oh, you're still here. Nice one, Hugo. All right. But I mean, anyway, let's just have a look. Yeah, this is the. I think this is what Rhiannon means. This is the one Rhiannon is talking about here. Now, as for the footage, I mean, anything. See, there's the mouse pointer there. But someone was asking about footage of the UFO. See, this maneuver does match what the 777 does. Like this, the steepness of this curve. The actual angle which the plane is banking matches the standard procedure for this particular aircraft. There's the first UFO. Now it looks to me like something ovoid. It does have a kind of structure to it. There are some like zoom ins on these objects, and they look like spheres, or they are spheres or ovoids. But they're not. You can't see them very clearly, but they appear to be structured objects. If I was on board the plane and I saw that happen, I'd be very worried. I mean, is the pilot banking to escape them? I don't know. All right. Here are the coordinates. You can only just see them here, but these are numbers at bottom, which could mean they could refer to geographical grid coordinates, or they could mean something else. I see there's another video. Someone saying, "Is this incredible leaked alien footage real?" Well, how can you tell if anything is real these days? How can you tell? God, just like flash, it was gone. Flash of light. I see the operator that moves the image again. Maybe this was Commander Lynn. It was Edward C. Lynn who did this. Yeah. And this is. Well, that's just a repeat of the drone footage. That's the satellite video, and this is the. So you can't see it very clearly. You know that there's the plane. Again, it says this is even dimmer than the. You just see this is like yeah. There's a color scale here for the infrared, and there you see they're giving off. That color tells you how much infrared radiation they're giving off. What happens is just before the plane vanishes, you'll see them kind of, they're circling, and they appear to be in formation. They're equally spaced apart as they're circling around this plane, and they seem to come closer to the plane just before there's the flash of light, and everything vanishes. UFOs, planes, the lot. You can see you see a bit of structure there. It appears that one half appears to be a different color to the other, indicating that it's got it's got a different signature management on either side. So one side is hotter than the other, basically. They're all like that. Yeah, that's very strange, and obviously very upsetting for the people involved. Oh, here's here's a zoom. You'll watch the zoom in bit. This is the slowed down. So that's a close-up of one of the objects, one of the UFOs or UAPs. They appear to be all identical. They all look the same. They're flying in formation. Is that a changing shape? I don't know, or just a change of aspect. Maybe it's a saucer. Maybe it's a saucer-shaped object. And it's changing in aspect, like Muamua did. Yeah, that's gone. It's just gone. So, gone. You see, they sort of converge. I mean, Ashton has mentioned this in his interviews. The objects converge. They sort of get closer and closer and closer to the aircraft. See, look, they're heading inwards now, and then that's when you get this big flash of light or flash of whatever it is, IR energy, and it's gone. Or if it's black, then maybe it means it's just a very, very low energy. I mean, there's no footage of Fred Valentich as. Fred Valentich was a pilot who vanished. Now, this is also very similar, I think, to this. I think is also very similar to this case. I'll say a little word about Fred Valentich in a minute. I'm just going to go for your comments. Aliens, prime suspects. I would say if that is real, then yes. I mean, Ashton thinks this is secret government technology. I think it's more likely to be extraterrestrial. But I would say, yeah. 69 Phuket. They'll come back with a retro-built 777, yeah, like we have done with the Roswell vehicle. Right. Oh, see how we're living. Salvatore Pade, who lodged the US Navy patents for superluminal teleportation, says this is his technology in action. Right. I've not watched that video yet. I know it's actually, there's a mirror of it on Ashton's channel. I've not had a chance to watch it. I've watched the Project Unity interview. I've watched the alien scientist interview. I mean, he's really done so much. You know, I'd do an interview with him myself, but he probably wouldn't. I mean, with my shadow banning, it's not worth his time, quite frankly. TiVo 71. Do you like cheese? Yes. And cucumbers? Yes, I do. Oh, Blue Van Man's got 20% off a cheese wheel. Oh, thank you for the information. And Rihanna, of course, who knows me, says I like everything except mushy peas. That's right. There's a heat signature under the plane, says Michael Show. Correct. That lends weight to the possibility there was a fire on board the plane, and that possibly the plane was going to crash. and they couldn't lower the landing gear. It was over the sea. Maybe they decided to use this technology to rescue the plane in a sort of opportunistic sense. Diego Rivera. Fannies did it, of course. The Fannies do everything. Anyway, so yeah, Fred Valentich. Now this is a very, it's a tragic case. It involves only one loss instead of 239. On Wikipedia. The disappearance of Frederick Valentich. Oh, where's it gone? Here we go. He was an Australian pilot who disappeared while on a 125 nautical mile training flight in a Cessna 182L light aircraft over the Bass Strait on the evening of Saturday, the 21st of October, 1978. He was only 20 years old. He was being accompanied by an aircraft about 1,000 feet above him. And just before his final report was, it's not an aircraft. Apparently the radio, then there was a sort of metallic sound, and then that's it, he's gone. Valentich radioed Melbourne Flight Service 7:06 p.m. to report that an unidentified flying object was following him at 4,500 feet. He was over the sea at this point in a small light aircraft. He was told there was no known traffic in that level. He could see a large unknown aircraft, which appeared to be illuminated by 4 bright landing lights. He was unable to confirm its type, but he said it passed about 1,000 feet overhead and was moving at high speed. He then reported that the aircraft was approaching him from the east and said the other pilot might be purposely toying with him. All right, remind me, someone said that there was a radio signal. Yeah, I've got to come on to that. Valentich said the aircraft was orbiting above him and had a shiny metal surface and a green light. He said he had engine problems, and then he said it's not an aircraft. And there was an unidentified noise that sounds like a metallic scraping, and then contact was lost. There was an air-sea rescue search by the RAAF, found no result, no wreckage, nothing. All right, I didn't know this. 5 years later, an engine cowl flap was found on Flinders Island on the beach, and the Bureau of Air Safety Investigation wanted to know if it might have come from that particular aircraft. The part has been identified as coming from a Cessna 182, which could have included Valentich's aircraft. It was in a certain range of serial numbers. But again, there's no certainty. We don't know if it could be that he was indeed taken by this aircraft, or it could be that the presence of this strange aircraft, this UFO, this probably an extraterrestrial craft, caused his plane to come to grief in the sea, and it sank without trace, and basically nothing was found. All right, COE Living said, I've been chatting with Ashton since August. He's very busy now. Yeah, he is indeed, COE Living, and indeed he seems to be always doing interviews with somebody or other. And I mean, I don't think it's not worth his while with my shadow banning for him to come onto my channel. It's not. Right, where are we now? I think, yeah, he was quite younger. Yes, he was just 20. Hello, Pie Pounder. How do you do? Valentich was taken by a UFO, not teleported. Witnesses saw a UFO with a Cessna attached to it. All right, were there independent witnesses? Because this was over the sea. But as someone mentioned, according to one record, there was actually a Vietnamese pilot that was flying ahead from Vietnamese Airlines that was flying just a short distance from MH370, said that after the apparent disappearance, he did attempt to communicate by radio with this aircraft, by shortwave radio. This is normal procedure because the other pilots in the area would have also been interested to find out where the plane might have gone. And so they did put out a call to MH370, got a reply, and apparently it was there was a lot of static, a lot of interference, and he couldn't make out any words. It was a garbled message. He could hear a voice, probably one of the pilots, but he couldn't make out a message. Where did I write that in my notes? Yeah, this is another weird thing. It's similar to the mobile phone calls. So if this is real, then the videos were leaked. Maybe it was Edward Lynn who did it, and Ashton says he's a hero if he did. He's not a spy; he's a hero. Well, and if he's actually bringing out the truth about an event that's been covered up by the government, then yes, he is a hero. Right, I think that's everything. Is that everything in my notes? Yes, it is. But yeah, there was apparently there's an unconfirmed report that could be apocryphal of a Vietnamese airliner that did manage to contact this thing. They contact the area. The area. Where are we now? Here we go. Whoops. Right. There's a time-lapse photo of a strange object at the Valentich encounter. All right. I mean, so there may be, if there was an independent witness, maybe it could be. Was there a teleportation situation, or was the plane crash? Did the plane crash in the sea? Right, Diego Rivera. It's similar to the Philadelphia experiment. Yeah, there are similarities to that. The Philadelphia experiment was actually a concerned a World War II incident in 1941. USS Eldridge, a destroyer, was apparently involved in an experiment involving electromagnetic warfare that caused it basically to vanish. It did come back later, but it was a horrible story. I won't repeat what state the crew were in when it was found, but bloody hell. Ashton's just done an interview with Alex Jones, worth watching as it's concise with the evidence. Yes, I did see that one. That's another one to add to the list. I did see that one, See How We Live In. It was on BitChute, yeah, on band.video, yeah. Hi, Pat Riot. Oh, thank you very much. Are you off? Thank you very much, Pat. So, yeah, I mean, Ashton, I did see that one as well. Anyway, I've got 60 views, which is not bad. Not bad for a shadow banned little channel like mine. Someone's talking about Fleetwood Mac. Hugo apparently is talking about Fleetwood Mac. I don't know why that is. And cats. You've got to talk about cats. I'm going to take a little break, guys. Back in a minute. Play amongst yourselves in my absence. Back like a ghost out of the mist. Yes, I am. Oh, yes, I am. Right, yes, you can see my tower of DVDs. That's right. Hello, everyone. All right. We got here Gary Robinson. Welcome. Nice to see you. That's right. Yeah, I've done an entire video about all my DVDs, actually. Steve071. Ben, what's your latest thoughts on disclosure? Well, that's what people say to me when they want this live stream to go on for another 3 hours. Hugo Room. Well, I might as well have another spliff while I wait. Go for it, Hugo. What are you waiting for anyway? Did you ask me a question I haven't answered it or something? Because you tend to... Because sometimes I miss them. Oh, right. COE Living says here, Philadelphia experiment purported to use Star Trek type teleportation with quantum disassembly and assembly. This is different as it creates a bubble outside of space-time. No danger for physical breakup. The ship apparently was the idea was to try and make it invisible to radar. It was essentially a form of electronic cloaking, which they wanted to use to see if they could actually hide. And indeed, we do have stealth technology used all the time in the Navy. Like there's the Zumwalt class destroyers, the U.S. Navy's, which are very which are especially designed. They look really weird. It looks like a sort of faceted, almost submarine-like shape. And it's actually designed that way because it's like the stealth aircraft. It's designed to reflect radar away from the receiver, so it has a very low radar signature. And indeed, when it actually has to have special radar reflectors built into it when it's not operating in a combat mode, just so it doesn't risk collision with other ships. Diego Rivera, which aliens are the most dangerous? I would say that obviously the ones that do the abducting and mutilating and things like that, obviously. Steve071, Ben's DVD stack is getting higher. Yes, it is. In fact, I recently purchased the DVD of the DVD version of Silent Night. And because it has a lot of deleted scenes in, and I'll probably go into that. I'll probably do a video closer to Christmas about that because we'll get into that kind of thing. 69 Phuket, portering advice. 69 gets social anxiety, and the porter's common room would cause me angst. Right, yeah. I mean, that is something I think you have to overcome to be in hospital portering. I would say. 69 Phuket is quoting Jean-Paul Sartre, hell is other people. L'enfer c'est les autres. That's right. That's Jean-Paul Sartre who said that. Here we go. Steve071. How much new tech do you think is embedded in films and TV shows years before it was given to the public? Quite a lot. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw that interview with... it was Bob Exler did this interview with this guy called... Robert Inman, who was like a former head of the CIA, and he said that there were several TV shows that had like covert sort of hints about secret technology. And of course, there's that Amico. Here's a perfect example. It was actually Andrew Johnson brought this up in his book, the Amico alien. I don't know if you've seen this. I know we're going off topic, but I did say any related topics. So here we go. Amoco is an oil company, of course. Amoco. Yeah, this appeared in a magazine. Here it is. Where is this? Here, this picture. See this picture here? This rather shady picture. There's several other versions of it. This picture appeared in a magazine, and no one seems to be able to know where it came from. It appears to be a photograph of some kind of sculpture, but when people made inquiries into the magazine and tried to find out who the sculptor was, and the photographer got back to them and said, "Oh yeah, it's just some guy made a bronze cast." And they said, "Well, can we talk to the person who made it? Because there's a slightly lighter version of it. Can we talk to the person who made the actual statue? Because Bill Cooper says this is incredibly detailed. It actually has a slight down on its skin, and there's moisture in the eyeball." And so a lot of people say, "Well, can we please see the sculpture? Because it's a lovely image." And they said, "Oh, we don't know who it is. Oh, I've forgotten who it was." They're very evasive kind of thing, very evasive kind of response from the photographer. And it appears that Bill Cooper actually thought this was actually a photograph of a real alien that had found its way into this. It's like an aviation magazine. I think it was in 1982 or something. It came out. Andrew Johnson brought it up. What about the Yeti, Ben? Any ideas? I think the Yeti is a primate, an upright primate that lives in the Himalaya area of the world, in Nepal and Tibet, which is very similar to the North American Bigfoot. Yeah. The alien's saying hello. It seems to be waving, doesn't it? Maybe it's copying that the guy who's holding up his hand on the old Pioneer plaque, which Carl Sagan designed. Oh, Rhiannon says here, 57 are watching, but only 13 have liked this Panmo production. Please click on the button, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you, Rhiannon. Thank you. But that is an example. All right, Hugo says, come on, Ben. Come visit, Ben. Let's talk reality. Cannabis is medicine. I wish to challenge the system, please. Oh, what? Yeah. Well, I've always been meaning to, haven't I? Anyway, let me just find Andrew's thing here. I've actually got the paperback of this, but I'm quite curious to see the where is the actual, because I did download his PDF of it as well. It's called, oh, where is it? Acknowledged: A Perspective on UFOs, Aliens, and Crop Circles. And even though Andrew himself is a total prick, who I'm going to have to avoid, even though that, I haven't changed my mind about any of the factual information he talks about. Bob Exler said if you zoom in, you can see skin moisture, wrinkles, and hair on its neck. That's right, yeah. That's right. Aerogel drones seem to flavor the moment. Interesting topic. Would like Commander Fravor's view. Yeah, I mean, has he commented on this at all? I don't know if he has. I don't know if he's commented. What's happening now? Oops, there we are. I don't know if he's commented. Right. Diego Ferrer, what's your conclusion, Ben? Do you think it was the aliens? You did ask me that question at the very start, and I said I'd give you an answer. I think most likely. I mean, I don't know for certain. I don't know. It could be Ashton is right. Ashton is right. Andrew Johnson's the soul of the Christmas party. Oh, I wouldn't go to a Christmas party with him there. I mean, it's not. I don't know. I can sort of ignore people. I did it with John Hanson, if you remember my Lapis video. I sat next to him in a pub and just didn't speak to him. Let's have a look. This is Andrew's acknowledge. Now I'll just try and find out. I'll use the search function here. What's Amoco stand for? I think it's the American Consolidated Oil Company or something. I can show you this page in the book. Here we go. Let me just zoom in a bit. Right. Oh God, I've opened up another browser now. Right, here we go. Right. Okay, I can't share screen right now until I have to shut this browser because there's some things in it I don't want you to see. In the meantime, do you UFO researchers have a Christmas party? Asked Diego Rivera. Yes, we've got one coming up next Saturday. I don't know how many of you are going. How many of you are going to the bases one? Rhiannon says, if I had to go to a Christmas party, I'd want Andrew Johnson to be there. I'm sure a lot of people would. I mean, my personal relationship with the guy, or lack of it, is not a reason to think of anything. That's not for other people not to. Where's your Christmas jumper? I will wear it on my special Christmas videos. I actually have been wearing it to keep myself warm lately. Actually, I don't think I haven't opened that browser, so we can go to screen share safely. Here we go. Right. The Amoco alien. Oops, what's happening now? Can you see this? You should be able to see this. Oh, hang on. I better. Come on. Right. I have opened up the browser. I don't want anyone to see, so I will just close that. Right, that's better. Okay. Oh, what's this? Has Ben's been looking at Big and Bouncy again? Oh my God! So it did actually appear in the screen share. Oh no! Della, I wonder which parties Alex Fate goes to. Well, actually, Alex, believe it or not, was Ben. Alex did go to a party. He went to a party where we all met up, and I met Alex. I didn't recognise him. I heard his voice, and I said, "That's Alex." And I said, "Are you Alex?" He says, "Yeah," because I know his voice very well, and he doesn't look like what I expected him to. I won't describe him. Andrew Johnson on the dance floor with his fleece, doing that funky stuff. Yeah. Rhiannon, I didn't know you'd fallen out with Andrew Johnson. I meant because he's more interesting than drunk normal people. I suppose he is actually more interesting than normal drunk. More than Ben, what do you think of the theory that MH370 crash was something to do with the patent Richschild fonted? Yeah, well, we've actually come on to that because I didn't go into a lot of detail about the results, but what's it called? So I'll come back to the Amico alien in a minute. Go back to my notes. Yeah, the freescale semiconductors was brought up by a certain chap named Jacob, wasn't it? Yeah. Which Ricardo, I think, is very strange, yes. David, will you be doing the Silent Night film again? I might do like a part 2 live stream of Silent Night, actually. Della has met him. Do you mean Andrew Johnson? All right. Is it your hit list, Ben, for Christmas Eve? I will. Maybe I will do another Silent. If you want to do another Silent Night video, live stream, I'll do one because I think it's a fascinating, enormously entertaining film. And like the outtakes, worth getting the DVD because the outtakes are really good. The outtakes actually, I'll just say more later on another video, but they some of them make the whole story come together. Oh, Alex Fate. Sorry, Della. You met Alex Fate. Yeah, you've met him. He doesn't look like what I expected him to. He doesn't. All right, guys. So let's get on to. It's the Amico alien. The story of this image comes mainly from Bill Cooper. That's Andrew Johnson's voice. Although there's no doubt that the image appears in the magazine. Here we are, Aviation Week and Space Technology, November the 1st, 1988. I tried to find a PDF version of this and couldn't. I couldn't find a PDF of it. But here is this is a scan of the page. And it says the technology is so advanced, it'll help answer some big questions. Now, I actually managed to get hold of this. I can't quite read what's here on this and the magazine. If you want to get the magazine, you've got to pay a fortune for it because it's like it's like really old. It's from 1988. But Amico is like an oil company. And what's the alien got to do with that? I mean, it's really weird. It says the image appeared around the time the Bob Lazar story first came out. It was actually the year before that. And people have begun to talk about Area 51. The image appeared on page 51 of the magazine, according to Norio Hayakawa. All right, well, Norio is actually a good guy. I trust him. I do. It's easy to ignore this image as just a model or marketing gimmick, but Cooper said he investigated it and didn't get straight answers, where one would have expected them. Right. Has Andrew accused Bill Cooper of being a shill yet? He accuses everyone else of being a bloody shill. So yeah, this is what I was saying earlier about how Bill Cooper, tried to inquire, could he get the answers? Cooper stated that in an enlarged version of the photograph, small hairs can be seen on the neck. This caused him to try and track down the photographer so that he could ask them what they photographed. The photographer apparently couldn't tell them what he was working with, but he did send them an 8x10 print of the negative. Cooper spoke to someone at Amico. First, they told us it was a 9-foot-tall bronze statue. Second, they told us it was a 12-foot-tall bronze statue. And third, they told us it was a 9-inch clay statue. When we pressed for more information and we became literally obnoxious on the phone, not accepting what they were telling us and waiting to see the original artwork, they refused to hang up on us. What have they got to hide? The researchers who have investigated the Annesley Hall have had that, where people just hang up on them. As well as the hair, Cooper noted that the skin had very fine detail in the dimly lit parts. He also noted there was an appearance of moisture in the eye and in the nostrils. The lips looked real for him, as well as bags under the eyes and the appearance of eyelids. I thought that too, actually. I did. So I'm not doing Andrew's voice just to take the mickey out of him. It's so you know it's easier to tell when I'm reading and when I'm actually talking. As Cooper said in his presentation, we cannot say for sure this is a picture of a real live alien. However, I would not be surprised if it was. I've actually watched. It's only a few minutes long. I won't show it to you, but Bill Cooper does this. He does a little lecture about this alien. One of the aliens that had been in captivity since whenever it crashed or was shot down. And you get a better image of it here. There's lots of high quality images of this. And he comes onto the alien interview, which of course I've covered elsewhere. All right, so here we go. Now, so I'll come on to your the Amoco Cadiz. Oh, that was a ship that sunk, didn't it? It was left an oil slick, didn't it? Ben, the text has nothing to do with the photo. It's completely out of place with the subject. Totally, Steve. I mean, what's that got to do with an oil company? And I mean, I can only read like the headlines of the text, but it's obviously an advert for Amoco. What's that got to do with aliens? Oh, right. Michael Snow is asking for background on Annesley Hall. Annesley Hall is a location in Nottinghamshire where I believe in 1987 a UFO crashed. Tika Rivera, your impression of Andrew Johnson sounds like a UFO accountant. Oh, he would hate that, wouldn't he? Yeah. Arianon says, there's no way of proving this was not a work of art rather than an actual photo. Moisture in the eye could be reproduced in many ways. Absolutely. I mean, it would be nice if they were a bit more, the people behind the photograph were a little bit more forthcoming and actually just explain why it was and what exactly it was. Because it's a photograph of a solid object, clearly. And Della says here, I agree, it looks like a clay sculpture to me. It may well be. And indeed, if it is, then it would be nice if they actually were a bit more forthcoming with Cooper. I mean, this was a long time ago. Cooper died a long time ago. Yeah. So it's Rihanna and Della says, I don't see the big deal. I think the big deal is that I think Cooper was suspicious because he couldn't actually get any background onto the source of this strange photograph. Obviously, if I was the artist and sculptor who produced that, I would want to get the credit for it. No, I would. What's it doing in that magazine? It's got nothing to do with Amoco. It's just a picture of an alien. So what's it doing? Slipped into an avian? What's it called? What was the magazine called? Aviation Week or something? Aviation Week and Space Technology. Yeah, what's it doing there? I mean, if you want, it costs money, which I'm not willing to spend. But if you sub to the magazine, you apparently can get a copy of it. But really, I mean, there's no point. I mean, we already have like the material we need. West London says Richie Allen is a weird guy. Oh, Richie's cool. I like Richie. I like his show. Slender fingers are only good for one thing. 669 Fruit Cat. What's that? Hey Ben, I don't know. Playing the flute. Anyway, guys, got any more comments or questions? If not, we will call it a night. It's been a good old live stream. Just wanted to thank everyone who's taken part in it. It's a subject that a lot of you were asking me about and you wanted me to cover. And so I covered it with the article on Pan Voice, but I thought, well, I'll do a video about it as well. Yeah, I've got what's coming up. I'm going to do another comments reply video. I've also got some ideas for I want to do a kind of follow-up video on a recent. Actually, I want to do a follow-up video and address certain issues that came up in my video called Meadows, my reportage of Stairway to the Stars. So I've got like an update plan for that, which I'll do probably before Christmas. I'll do a reportage of the event in Basis too. I'll do like a little reportage of that as well. Oh, you're welcome, 69 Phuket. You're welcome. Thank you very much. Any more questions or comments? Sorry for the poor quality of this image. New webcams on my shopping list. But yeah, the other webcam has finally given up the ghost. But thank you, 69 Food Cat. West Londoner. I enjoyed the live stream, Ben. Take care. Thank you, West Londoner. I enjoyed having you. I've enjoyed it too. It's been great. It's been really great. Steve's 071. Do you know what you might do for a Christmas special? Well, I don't think I'm doing another. I don't think I'll do another movie review. I mean, I don't know. Michael Snow says I can't think of anything. Neither can I. Night night, Rihanna. Night night. Thank you very much, Rihanna. Night night. See how we live in. Thank you very much. Your information is very, very interesting. You are in personal contact with Ashton Forbes. He did actually like my notice for this video, so he may well be watching. In which case, Ashton, thank you very much for all you've done. Cheers, Michael. Hello, Tessa. Coming up at the end. No night, David. You're welcome, Hugo. You're welcome. Thank you very much, all of you. But yeah, if Ashton's watching, thank you very much for all this. He's done a lot of good work, and he has convinced me to Postman Pat on Spice. Should I have a poo? I don't know. It's up to you. Tessa, happy birthday for tomorrow. Have a good one. Postman Pat, you work it out. I don't want to say anything. Night, Della. Night. Thanks very much. Thanks for posting. How about a classic Christmas comedy review? Yeah, maybe I did do a classic films. I did a Christmas films of Hospital Porter Reacts, didn't I? A Christmas quiz. Yeah, no, maybe West London. Maybe if I can think of some good questions to ask. Yeah, I've done quizzes on Panama Radio. Wrap up warm, Tessa. Thank you very much. Night, Steve 071. Night, everyone else who's posted tonight. Much appreciated. Some of you have gone now, I know. But thank you, everyone who's posted in chat. And thank you to everyone who's watched. You may be watching this on the recording. Postman Pat. How many letters do you think I can deliver whilst on Spice? Right. It depends whether you eat the black and white cat. But it does make you do weird things, doesn't it, Spice? Night, Postman Pat. Night. Or maybe you'll get blue eyes like in June. Oh, yes, I've got to do more about June. All right. How many of you, just answer me this question. I always mean to ask this question. Do you remember my video, my read party? How many of you watched the Doomsday? How many of you read the Doomsday Conspiracy? Oh, come on. How many of you read it? Come on, load picture, load. The browser's going now. How many of you read the Doomsday Conspiracy? Because I did say I'd do this read party. Right, so that's not the one. Here we go. How many of you read the Doomsday Conspiracy? Because there's no point in me doing because it's a read party. Oh, Postman, you have. Brilliant. That's one. I won't do the review and live stream until at least maybe 5 to 10 of you have read the book. Because it's a book that's never been adapted into a film. So it is literally just a read party. But I thought it was very, very Panama-esque. So I thought I would actually do that. So no, you haven't. Oh, Steve hasn't. No worries. Well, you've got plenty of time. Go and read I've done a video called An Introduction to the Doomsday Conspiracy by Sidney Sheldon. Tessa, it is Sidney Sheldon. Yeah, so check that out. So we'll do that. Anyway, guys, that's all. Yeah, there'll be a comments reply video, reportage, and a couple of other things. Anyway, thank you very much, all of you, for taking part in this live stream. It's been very interesting. I think I have changed my mind on MH370. I didn't actually think this was real when I first saw this video. Since then, I think it may very well be real. I don't know for certain. Things like this can be faked because anything can be faked these days. Let's face it. But yeah, I saw this amazing video. I won't show it to you now because we're coming to the end. But basically, an AI recreated 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick's classic sci-fi film. They did a remake in the style of Fritz Lang, basically silent black and white version of it with all the steampunk things. Oh, it's really incredible. I mean, anything could be faked. Anything. Oh, thanks, Leanne. Yeah, please give it a like. it gets me around the shadow banning a bit. So literally anything can be fate. This video can be fate. What we see here, what you can see behind me, could be fate. But Ashton Forbes has provided a very, very good, comprehensive, and very credible and confident case that it's not fate. So I am saying as the title of this video goes, I am reconsidering MH370. Thank you all of you for watching Hapanmo TV. Hospital Porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.